As this impeachment inquiry continues, Democrats are closing in on some of the key figures around Donald Trump who were involved in it. That's Rudy Giuliani, but also Pompeo too. So we've got both of those for you, and now the Democrats want some information. They're subpoenaing documents and things like that. First, for Giuliani, Democrats just yesterday subpoenaed Giuliani, the president's personal lawyer, to request text messages, phone records, and other communications within the next 2 weeks that they referred to as possible evidence. They also requested documents and depositions from 3 of his business associates. Now, Rudy Giuliani might have initially thought that flashing his cell phone on Fox News counts as providing all that information. It does not, and there's more that they want. Will he cooperate? We've got really interesting information about that in just a minute. But first, also Mike Pompeo has been drawn into this. So Mike Pompeo, you might have seen in the news just yesterday, revealed to have been on that call with the Ukrainian president, which is news, not just to me, but apparently to Mike Pompeo as of just about a week ago. Take a look at him being asked about this topic just a few short days ago.
The Wall Street Journal is reporting that President Trump pressed the president of Ukraine 8 times to work with Rudy Giuliani to investigate Joe Biden's son. What do you know about those conversations?
So you just gave me a report about a IC whistleblower campaign, none of which I've seen. I can tell you about this administration's policies with Ukraine.
Yeah, you just gave me the thing. I haven't seen it. I can tell you about policies. I can tell you about my weekend plans. I can't tell you about the call that I was 100% on. And that is not just deceptive. Obviously, he knows that he was on that call. He must have been involved in those conversations in the immediate aftermath of it, of what to do about this call. Concern that it's either, at the best case scenario, looks really bad for Trump. Worst case scenario is proof that he's committing a crime. So they decided to shunt it into a private server. If he wasn't involved in that, after being on the conversation, I would be personally shocked by that. But at the very least, he was on the call. Now, clearly you should reveal that. He's willfully trying to fool people into thinking he doesn't know about it. But especially when their case is that that call was fine. There's nothing on it that was bad for Donald Trump. So if Mike Pompeo was a first-hand witness, he was listening to it in real time, why is he not making that case? Why is he not using that opportunity with Martha Raddatz to say, I was on the call, I listened to the call, and let me tell you, there was nothing wrong with that call. He doesn't do that. Even though that's the rest of Donald Trump's cabal, that's the defense they're trying to put forward, but not Mike Pompeo. That is very interesting in a couple of different potential ways. Most likely that Mike Pompeo knows how bad it looks. He knows that he's starting to get implicated in this, and he is desperately trying to avoid being brought down at the same time that others are brought down. So clearly Mike Pompeo is lying about it amidst all the other lies we're hearing. And now we've got Giuliani being subpoenaed. We also have subpoenas for Mike Pompeo, and he apparently is not interested in them, at least at present. This came in just this morning. Secretary Pompeo responds to subpoena saying requested deposition dates are not feasible, asserts Democrats' request can be understood only as an attempt to intimidate, bully, and treat improperly State Department officials. That is one interpretation. The other is that they want these documents and perhaps want them even more now that they have found out that you've been lying about your presence on that call. But as of right now, he's not interested. So he's obviously like full stop interfering with the impeachment inquiry, or at the very least slow rolling it. Now this is gonna be very interesting news to Lindsey Graham, who said back during the Clinton years that you don't need to commit a crime to be impeached. Even just interfering with the impeachment inquiry, that is itself impeachable. And Donald Trump is apparently surrounding himself with a number of different flunkies who are doing exactly that. So I expect Lindsey Graham to come out swinging today, but probably not. So he's not interested in abiding by the Democratic subpoena. What about Rudy Giuliani? Well, he was on with Sean Hannity, and to the extent that anything is actually revealed on that show, let's see what was revealed on this topic.
Would you testify? Because I think Jay Sekulow is absolutely right. You don't have to do anything.
Oh, I don't know. I'm weighing the alternatives. I'll kind of like go through it. I'll get all my evidence together. I'll get my charts. I don't know if they let me use videotapes and tape recordings that I have. If they let me get some of the evidence that I gathered. And I have to tell you, Sean, all this nonsense about I was interfering in the election, I gathered all this evidence before the Mueller probe ended. So it was clearly under my responsibility as the lawyer for the President of the United States.
Well,
so as he's going through that, Sean Hannity keeps trying to hurry him along because he's doing the weird old grandpa thing that he does where he just starts talking complete nonsense. And remember, as he's saying that, both about how he's gonna respond to this congressional subpoena within the context under the umbrella of an impeachment inquiry, and talking about gathering information back during the Mueller report, back before we had the finalized Mueller report. Remember, during both of those things, he is on TV a lot representing the president, and that might confuse you. That might mislead you into thinking that he is a government official. He's not. He's the personal lawyer of Donald Trump. The idea that he could be subpoenaed by Congress and him, a non-government official, not part of the executive branch, not in any way covered by some sort of even lofty ideas of executive privilege, that he can just give the middle finger to these subpoenas, that is insane. And somehow adding on top of that, that he was gathering data about Ukraine back during the Mueller report, when again, he wasn't even a part of the US government, that does not look good for Rudy Giuliani. So he might abide by it, he might not. He's got alternative strategies. I'll see if maybe they'll take videotape. I don't even know what that means. Is it videotape of you? Is it just an old copy of Homeward Bound that you have? What is the videotape that you're gonna be handing over? You don't get to not testify just because you've got old VHSs. That is not how this works. They want you to answer questions to the extent that you can. And your media appearances over the past month have not reassured me that you can actually do that. I think Rudy Giuliani is doing what Donald Trump did during the Mueller investigation. He is making sure that he's not going to ever personally testify because he knows that he can't do that. Certainly not without lying and potentially revealing other crimes too. So maybe he wants to do some sort of thing where he gets the questions and he records an answer and sends it in like Donald Trump was allowed to do during the Mueller report. That is obviously unacceptable, and I hope that in this case, the Democrats don't actually allow it. So here's the thing. Rudy Giuliani is on with Sean Hannity. I don't generally watch Sean Hannity because I'm trying to preserve the last vestiges of my mental health. But I did have to watch a little bit of it to pull that clip. And so after what you just saw, Sean Hannity transitions into talking about a Politico piece. And again, I don't watch a lot of Sean Hannity. To get an idea of what his show is actually like, but I do get an idea of what his strategy is like if this is representative. So you go from Rudy Giuliani to this Politico piece. Take a look at Sean Hannity's attempt to confuse his audience about this issue.
Politico. January 11, 2017, Ukrainian efforts to sabotage Trump backfire. Kiev officials are scrambling to make amends with the president-elect after quietly working to boost Clinton. That quote, the article, Politico, they're not concerned. Ukrainian government officials tried to help Hillary and undermine Trump to publicly question his fitness for office.
Okay, so there you have Sean Hannity with a 2017 Politico piece by Kenneth Vogel and I believe it was David Stern. And he has taken out a quote that makes it seem as if Hillary Clinton had done exactly what Donald Trump is being accused of doing. And that piece actually doesn't look amazing for Hillary Clinton, but when you actually look it up, which none of his viewers will actually do, it is not what Sean Hannity is presenting there. So unfortunately for him, I actually did look up the article. You can see the front page of it right here, Ukrainian efforts to sabotage Trump backfire. If you just look at the headline, sure, that looks bad. But I have read it, and what it does not describe is any sort of attempt by Hillary Clinton to blackmail or pressure Ukraine into helping out her campaign. Now, there is a serious analysis of what Ukraine might have done to try to hurt Donald Trump. There's also arguments as to why they were doing that. And it was not that they just loved the idea of Hillary Clinton being president. They had particular reasons why they didn't like the idea of Donald Trump being president. One of the largest parts of it was that Paul Manafort was working for Donald Trump. Paul Manafort had done horrific things in Ukraine, so they had a bit of a grudge against him being a part of Donald Trump's presidency. And also, they were horrified by the prospect that Donald Trump as president would embolden Russia, which had already invaded a portion of Ukraine. They did not look forward to more of that were Donald Trump to become president. So under this previous Ukrainian president, in a non-centralized way, they're very specific about that. They in fact say they were far less concerted or centrally directed than Russia's alleged hacking and dissemination of democratic emails. Another portion of that article that Sean Hannity is very careful not to reveal in that brief little reference there, that they didn't like the idea of Donald Trump being president. And we can have a problem with that. We can say, I don't want any foreign country getting involved in any way, but we can't pretend that this is the same thing because it's not. We can't pretend that, but Sean Hannity can. That's his entire MO, to both sides and what about, and to pick apart little bits of an article to pretend that it tells the story that he wants. And right there, you heard in that little bit of video, he said, this is Politico, they're not conservative, so you should trust them even more. Okay, well that's really interesting, Sean. You think we should trust those authors? Okay. Well, let's trust them in the more recent history, not back in 2017. What has Kenneth Vogel been saying in the past 24 hours? Well, he tweeted this. My first story exposed how Giuliani, with Trump's approval, had been meeting with Ukrainian prosecutors, pushing for dirt and probes into Biden and others, which I wrote, quote, raises questions about whether Mr. Trump is endorsing an effort to push a foreign government to hurt a political opponent. So what about Kenneth Vogel now, Sean Hannity? What about not just in 2017 when you can pick apart a dozen words from a long article to pretend it says something that it didn't? Are you still interested in how unbiased he is? Are you still interested in promoting his work? I have a feeling perhaps not. Again, I don't watch his show. Maybe this is an outlier for Sean Hannity, but I suspect that it's not. I suspect that if you watch Sean Hannity, this is the diet that you're being fed night after night. Attempts to confuse you, to muddy the waters, to make something that's incredibly simple seem complex, because that is the only defense that they have at this point. Thank you for watching this clip from The Damage Report. For more content from the show and access to TYT Network members-only exclusives, go to tyt.com/Brooke. Wait, no, it's tyt.com/John. Go to tyt.com/John to sign up.